Skinny spazoid. Death is something that has a massive effect on people, which is why people treat the event of death as something of great importance. Even in modern Western society, almost everyone has a funeral when a loved one dies, showing the value we place on paying our respects. For this list, I searched for the most unusual and interesting rituals throughout history that were meant to commemorate the death of someone close. Number 10. Sky Burials. Practiced by Tibetan Buddhists, sky burials are the process of cutting the deceased into pieces and letting other forms of life eat it, usually vultures. The visual makes it look inhumane, however, the thought process behind it is heartwarming. Tibetan Buddhists believe that dead bodies are useless to them, and they want to use the body to sustain life that currently exists as a form of compassion and charity. Number 9. Sati. This is one of the most horrifying practices involved with death. Sati is now banned in India, but originally was an important part of the culture where a widowed woman was burned to death with her deceased husband's corpse. This was usually voluntary, however, many times women were forced to die with their husbands. These sort of customs are not exclusive to India, as they have been seen in other cultures ranging from Egyptian to the Greeks to the Aztecs. Number 8. Finger amputation. Done by the Dani people of Papua New Guinea. This ritual involves cutting off your own finger in order to show your sorrow for the death, and also to ward off and gratify spirits. Fingers were tied off, cut off with an axe, dried, burned, and even stored. Number 7. Famadiyana. This one is done by the Malagasy people of Madagascar. These people dig up dead bodies from the ground and rewrap them in fresh cloth. They then dance around the corpse's tomb with live music playing. This is done to let the spirits find the afterlife. Local Christian churches have tried to get rid of this practice for obvious reasons. Number 6. Mortuary rites. This one is done by Australian Aborigines. The process includes taking the liquid of a dead body and putting it on a young man in order to inherit the good qualities of the deceased person. The bones of the dead person also hold significance, as they were kept in a cave or a log, or even worn by people. It is also important in these rites to not say the name of the deceased for a year, as a way of controlling their ego. Number 5. Viking funeral. This ritual was performed by Vikings in the 10th century. When a chieftain died, a slave girl would volunteer to join him in the afterlife. In order to do this, she was given new clothes and sat by his grave for 10 days, where she was given tons of alcohol to drink regularly. Then she would have sex with every man in the village, who would tell her to take their love with her when she met him in the afterlife. Then she was taken to a tent where she had sex with 6 men and was then stabbed to death by the village matriarch. After this, her dead body was put on a ship with the deceased chieftain and lit afire. Number 4. Zoroastrian funerals. Dead bodies in Zoroastrian culture were considered to be impure and dirty. Funerals were started by cleaning the body with a bull's urine. After this, a dog would come who would ward off evil spirits from the body, usually by barking at the body. The body was then put up high on a tower of silence where vultures would devour it. Number 3. Suspended burials. Done by the now either gone or appropriated Bo people of southwest China. Bodies were put into coffins where they were hung from a cliff. These coffins can still be seen today, and the visual itself is completely fascinating. Number 2. Endocannibalism. Referred to by the Wari people of Brazil and the Melanesians of Papua New Guinea as feasts of the dead. Dead people were honored by being eaten. This was done as a way of connecting themselves with the people who had died and is also really horrifying to look at. Number 1. Mummification. Perhaps the most famous ritual of death was the death of Egyptian pharaohs, who were put through the religious process of mummification. Mummification involved a complex autopsy in order to help the pharaoh on his or her way to the afterlife. Pharaohs were put in illustrious tombs full of riches and were said to become gods during this process. Literature was created in these tombs detailing the pharaoh's glorious transition into godhood.